Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Network. Today we're diving into a Linux distribution that's been getting a lot of attention in the gaming community, CachyOS. If you're not familiar with it, CachyOS is an Arch-based Linux distribution that focuses heavily on performance optimizations, especially for gaming and desktop responsiveness. The developers put in a lot of work tweaking the kernel, schedulers, and system defaults with the idea that you get better performance out of the box compared to a standard Linux install. So, naturally, I wanted to see what this distro can really do when it comes to gaming. And in today's video, I'll be sharing benchmark results from 5 games, a mix of newer and older titles, to see just how well CachyOS handles them. Before we jump into the games, let's quickly talk about the system I'm running. For the graphics card, I've got the AMD RX 7600 XT, which has 16 GB of VRAM. That's plenty of video memory for modern gaming and a really solid mid to high tier GPU. My CPU is the Ryzen 7 5800X, an 8-core 16-thread processor that's still decent for gaming in 2025. I'm running 32 GB of Corsair RAM, which gives me more than enough headroom not just for games but also for multitasking and content creation. And finally, the motherboard is the Gigabyte B550M DS3H, which is a reliable board for this kind of setup. So overall, this is a balanced system that sits in a pretty good sweet spot for Linux gaming. Powerful enough to run demanding games but still realistic for what many PC gamers may have today. Now for the actual tests. I used the CachyOS Proton Native build for all the games. This is important because Proton is what allows us to run Windows games seamlessly on Linux. Every game was played at high graphics settings to get a good balance between visual and performance. And most importantly, during testing I had no stutters, no screen tearing and no major issues. The games just run smoothly, which is always a good sign when you're gaming on Linux. So let's get into the results, starting with the first half of the list. Even though this isn't a brand new game, it's still somewhat of a benchmark title because of how demanding it can be. On high settings, CachyOS gave me an average of around 60 FPS. That's smooth and totally playable for a game like Crysis 3, which has a lot of heavy effects and detailed environments. 60 FPS is right where you want it. Moving on, this is a game that can be pretty heavy on both the CPU and GPU, especially in crowded areas. I was pleasantly surprised to see an average of about 100 FPS on high settings. Gameplay felt buttery smooth, and this is the kind of performance you'd expect on a high-end gaming setup. Except here we're running it on Linux with Proton Native, which is really impressive. Before we move on to the rest of the benchmarks, I just want to quickly say if you're enjoying this video, I'll really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my future Linux gaming content, and it helps me out a lot in growing this channel. Thanks. Alright, let's continue with the next 3 games. This one is a fast-paced, futuristic battle royale style shooter, and performance here really matters because every frame counts. CachyOS absolutely nailed it, averaging around 133 FPS. That kind of smoothness makes a huge difference in competitive games where reaction time and responsiveness are everything. Now, this is Bethesda's online Wasteland, and as many of you know, it's not exactly the most optimized game out there. But on CachyOS I was able to average around 79 FPS on high settings. That's more than enough for smooth exploration and combat, and it was great to see that the game held steady without noticeable dips. Finally, Outriders. This game is known to be demanding on hardware, but CachyOS still managed to deliver an average of about 90 FPS. That's really solid performance, especially for a game like this which combines heavy effects with fast-paced action. So what's the takeaway here? All 5 games, from an older but demanding title like Crysis 3 Remastered to more recent ones like Outriders, run smoothly and consistently on CachyOS with Proton Native. And remember, this was all done at high graphics settings. I think the most impressive part is that I didn't need to tweak anything special. I didn't have to go hunting for fixes, patches or obscure settings. Everything worked out of the box and the performance was exactly what you'd hope from this kind of hardware. It really shows how far Linux game has come. A few years ago, running this kind of game smoothly on Linux would have felt like a dream. But now, thanks to projects like Proton and distros like CachyOS, it's a reality. So overall, I'd say CachyOS really lived up to its promise as a performance-focused Linux distribution. If you're into gaming on Linux and you want something that's optimized and ready to go, this is definitely a distro worth trying out. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of my upcoming Linux gaming content. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.